Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villere's Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villere's provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villere's Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Homeowners insurance increasing or deductible too high? Call, click, or come in. Save it, Dave. Dave Miette Insurance Agency.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siping, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
Cnc Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, Cnc provides patient-centered care for your entire family. Cnc Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we're going to cover all the home teams: Saints, LSU, Tulane, UNO, Pelicans, Loyola. We're going to cover them all this afternoon. And, of course, we're live from our Pontchartrain Production Studios on kind of a ugly day here in Old New Orleans. One of those ugly winter days that we get every now and then. But nevertheless, again, we got a great guest for you to break it down. Rene Nadeau of CrestCitySports.com is going to be our guest to be able to break down everything in local sports this afternoon. Rene, welcome back to the show. How are you, my friend?
Eric, it's always great to be with you. It's warm my heart, brother. I know it's cold outside, but this is warm in here, man. It's always a special treat to be here with you.
Well, I appreciate it. Tell us a little bit out, and again, you're involved in a bunch of stuff, but tell us a little bit about CrestCitySports.com and some of the other things you're doing.
Well, CrestCitySports.com, I write a lot about college football, recruiting, or anything, basically sports. I have a great, Kenny Train does a great job with all the crews, Les East and Jude Young, and you've had Lenny Van Gelder,
yes,
and Ed Daniels, a bunch of guys on here. During the football season, I'm a color football analyst for football games, TV analyst, and also do some radio work for CBS Radio and WFAN for Saints, Pelicans, bowl games, stuff like that. So I'm going to figure it out soon. I'm going to figure out what I'm good at really soon, and maybe I'll narrow it down a little bit.
Well, I don't think you're going to have to narrow it down. He's been at it a long time. We were just talking about way back when he was, when talk radio was in its infancy. This guy had a show 11 to 1 on WGSO, and then before the WSLA. So again, believe me, he's been around for a while and a lot of knowledge. As I was coming in, our good friend Mark Jaffisi, as I put the stuff on social media about you being on today, best recruiting analyst in the city, bar none.
Well, I appreciate that, and been doing it a long time, and recruiting's always been very intriguing to me, and you're catching young people before they really branch out into college and pro sports and stuff, and get to see them in the infancy, if you will, in their careers, and it's been a special treat.
It's one of the great things about CrestCitySports.com, because you guys get a chance to be able to take the kids, from high school, in some cases, maybe even watch these kids in junior high, all the way, again, in some cases, to the pros.
Well, I've had a chance on TV when I've had some replays when Kenny Trahan and I have looked like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid doing games back in the 80s. Had some games where Warwick Dunn was a sophomore, Peyton Manning was playing, Cordell Stewart. So many guys in the formative years and stuff like that, and having done a prep recruiting show with Leonard Fournette and so many athletes, and you know, have a chance to kind of talk with them about what they plan to do, and you know, and you see some of these guys, like I said, Leonard Fournette. I remember having him on prep recruiting many times about what he'd like to do with his career, and you see where he's been, and so many people like that, and you know, see that they've lived their dreams. Right. They've gotten to really do what they wanted to do, and who knew back then if it would come to fruition, if these guys would ever, you know, do everything they wanted to do, and you know, injuries play a role in sports sometimes, and these guys have stayed healthy enough and you know, moved on, and there's been so many of them. It's been a great treat.
Right. Well, and look, you do this every year. Every year for CrescentCitySports.com, you let us know again how many players with local ties have made it to the NFL. And it's amazing when you talk about per capita, again, how big this state is, and again, the number of players that this state puts into the NFL every single year. And then guys that, again, that are top players as well.
Well, you know, and I tell you, that's a good point, Eric. And the thing is, every year in August, you look at, there's 44 players who prepped in New Orleans, and the West Bank, and everywhere on the North Shore, who are playing in the NFL. And it's not just the Peyton Mannings or the you know, Warwick Dunns. It's so many players that are playing prominent roles. You look right now, I mean, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. So many guys are in the playoffs this week, and probably make it to the Super Bowl, who prepped right here, and you got to see it in their formative years and stuff, and it's really kind of neat. It's not only the players that drive, but it's the coaches, the coaching you get. You know, you get coaching here, maybe like none other. And but there's a something special about players down here in Southeast Louisiana. They're driven. And there's so much competition. You know, I think you bring out the best. Sometimes some of these guys talk about how they've improved just at practice going against, you know, Jamar Chase and Kristen Fulton. I mean, guys like that.
They'll be playing against each other this weekend.
That's right. And you know, played against each other in high school. So, you know, iron sharpens iron, and you know, steel sharpens steel. And you get to see guys who played and practiced against each other in high school, in college, and now doing the NFL.
And it's not just football, it's across the board. Football, basketball, baseball. We got some great coaches in Louisiana.
Yeah, and you know, it's just, you know, speaking of which, and it's great to see Hank Tierney decide he's not going to hang it up. And Hank's a young 70, you know, and he's gonna do it at Shaw, and I think he'll do a great job. And I'm kind of glad that he decided, because he's got so much to give, and he's had such an impact on so many young men.
And of course, you know, for Shaw, who just left the Catholic League, one of the great things I heard in that press conference was they're going to do everything they can to get that enrollment up to get back in the Catholic League, which again is, you know, look, De La Salle left the Catholic League a while back. It's not what it used to be. Again, they got other schools now that are in cars in the Catholic League now. It's a different Catholic League, but nevertheless, always good to see, again, original Catholic leaguers getting back into that particular conference or division.
And it's a meat grinder. I mean, you know, you get the St. Augs and the Jesuit and the Rummels and the Brother Martins and, you know, Holy Cross, and it's tough. It's tough week in and week out. It's like the SEC. I mean, you know, there's no week off. There's no week off.
That's the truth. And it's always been that way. It's always been that way. Well, let's talk some Saints. Saints finished 9-8. They overcame. Everybody knows the story about the adversity. We don't have to go into that. The question is now, you know, as you look at this season, looking back, talk about your thoughts on the season. Then we'll get into what the Saints look like going into this offseason and in the future.
You know, no one thought and knew that there'd be this many injuries. I mean, 57 players have started, which is an NFL record. So Sean Payton did a pretty miraculous job with what he had at his disposal. You didn't know who was playing. The COVID played a lot into this. Jameis Winston looked like he was going to be okay. He gets hurt. Taysom Hill takes the role, and you know, you get 4 different quarterbacks taking snaps and stuff like that, and that was tough. It's tough because keeping the continuity, and you're talking about the offensive line. There was some injuries there, you know, and Michael Thomas misses the season. It's really, really tough. I thought the Saints, before the season began, I thought the Saints had a chance to win 10 games.
So did I.
And you know, they came close, but they didn't get in the playoffs. Moving forward, it's going to be tough because they're going to make some tough decisions. They're going to have to make some tough decisions. Armstead, what's going to happen at quarterback. I still believe that the starting quarterback right now for next year is not on this roster.
Really? Okay.
And I think that they're going to have to really visit this Jameis Winston. I think is going to get some feelers out there.
Okay.
And the Saints are going to have to make a decision if they can match any offer and bring him back, or if they want to move on. And Teron Armstead is another situation. They got money tied up in Ramczyk,
Right.
Eric McCoy,
Sure.
Cesar Ruiz. Is he gonna improve and become
Right.
the player he thought he would and justify the first round pick? Teron Armstead's going to be a tough decision, and I really have my doubts. I'd say right now, it's a 60-40 that he does not come back.
Right. Well, we were talking about it. Guy averages missing about 6 games a year. He's probably going to command about $20 million a year on the open market. You have Ramczyk, who you can move to the left side. Can you make? You don't want to lose good football players, but can you make that investment in a guy that's been often injured and now is going to be on the other side of 30? And I think they have to weigh that.
Well, Eric, the thing is, it's not about ability; it's availability.
There you go.
And the thing is that, unfortunately, Teron Armstead has been injured, and it's not his fault, but he missed 9 games this year. James Hurst filled in,
Yes.
did a good job. He's been he's been a great fireman for this team.
Yes.
They plugged him in almost anywhere. Landon Young is a guy we talked about. It was a high draft. It was a 4th, 5th round draft choice this year, and I think there might be a future for him. But it's just going to be money. They've kicked the can down the road many times on players and things, and there'll be some dead money if Teron Armstead is not here.
$13 million.
Yes, that's a lot of money.
Right.
But I think they're going to have to roll the dice and decide where we're going to be in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And unfortunately, he's 30 years old. He's not an Andrew Whitworth who's playing at 40.
Right.
He's had injuries that have really changed things. And when he goes down, and Andres Peter's going down, he's been hurt.
Right.
That offensive line is just really it's been tough.
Right.
Keeping 5 guys together and any kind of continuity and keeping the quarterback. I mean, all the sacks they had with 37 sacks. I mean,
Right.
that's
And that's
crazy.
a byproduct of, again, the revolving door.
Yes.
And of course you mentioned Ruiz having a really tough year, and again you have to wonder again how much that was how much was that a byproduct of Ramczyk not being next to him most of the year. Having to be moved from center to guard. Been a lot of issues along that offensive line. They've got to get that continuity back that they had during the Breeze years, where again, even if a guy like Armstead went down, they had a plug-and-play guy, and for the most part, the line stayed intact. We'll see how that plays out going forward.
Well, and two, not having Drew Brees, that had so much. That had so much to do with not only the quarterback play, but how the offense ran.
No doubt.
And that there's little things that is not visible to the naked eye that the coaches knew what Drew Brees brought to the table.
Right.
He was a coach on the field. But having guys move around from guy may be playing right tackle one day, maybe playing left guard, and it's just you need some continuity, and I just think they're going to have to think about where's the money going, and use it wisely.
$61 million in dead money right now. Again, it's not really an issue to the point because they have the new contracts they've done with Ramczyk and Kamara, also Lattimore. There's wiggle room there to be able to open up cap room. Obviously, Loomis does that in every contract that he does. So again, I don't think people have to worry too much about over the cap like you were last year, where you had the COVID losses that compounded again, the Breeze money coming due, and some of the other players, and of course you had that wholesale shaving off of some really good players. Guys that were backups that ultimately went on to start at other teams. That quality depth was gone.
Yeah, and Hendrickson has won. Man, they hate to see him go.
Right.
And he's doing a great job for the Bengals right now. And you got players come in that you didn't expect to contribute like you thought. Paulson Adebo.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
He had a great year.
Sure.
And they're gonna have to address that defensive secondary. Because
What do you think about Marcus Williams? Is he back? Now again, he turned down a top 5 contract last year, for safety, because he wanted to be the highest paid safety. I don't know if he's worth the money of being a highest paid safety, but obviously the Saints have an affinity for him. Again, putting the franchise tag on him. They won't be able to do that again this year because it becomes exorbitant. So what do you think happens there?
if I had to guess, I'd say there's a good chance he is coming back, and because I think they know what he means to this defense, and they've invested a lot of time and money in him, and I don't think they would let him go. And you say, well, why would they let Armstead go? But I mean, the thing is, again, it's availability, and Marcus Williams has been there, and he has not suffered any injuries like Armstead has. But I think Marcus Williams is also a little younger. And I think there's a better chance between those two that he would be one to come back.
I want to go back to Jameis Winston for a moment. Coming off, again, a pretty significant knee injury, supposedly based on what we've been able to see, via social media. He's a little bit ahead of his rehab where he should be. When you look at the quarterback situation right now, you think there's going to be a market for Jameis Winston?
Yes.
Okay. Multiple teams so there may be a bidding war if the Saints want to keep him. See, I was thinking again, there wouldn't be a big market for him coming off that knee injury, and that again, maybe again the Saints might be able to get an opportunity to be able to get him on maybe a 2-year deal, maybe again a lot of incentives in there, and then of course that helps him with the cap as well in terms of re-signing other players, or that are not on the re-signing players on the roster or signing free agents. But you think there's going to be a market?
Well, I agree with you on one thing, Eric. I think that this was a trial year for him,
right?
And the fact that he was injured, it plays into the Saints.
In his favor, right?
Yes, in that favor, that he won't be able to command as much because he wasn't available as much this year. I don't know how much he's going to want. If the Saints can get him affordable,
right?
I think they can bring him back. I think he's going to test the waters a little bit, and I think a couple of teams. I don't think there'll be a big market for him. I think there'll be a few teams, 2 or 3, 4 teams that may be interested in him because right now there's a lot of uncertainty in quarterbacks around the country, around the nation in the NFL, but. I still think, even though the Saints have an interest in him and would like to bring him back, I think as far as the future goes, they're going to be eyeing somebody else.
Right. I did want to ask this because, again, there wasn't a big market for him before he came to the Saints. He's been here 2 years now, injured last year, 7 games, so small sample size on the new Jameis Winston, right? There's been a lot of talk about Garoppolo, a lot of talk about Derek Carr. When you compare and contrast those 3 players, what are the differences, and who do you think is the better quarterback or quarterbacks?
If I had to rate them, I'd say Garoppolo, Derek Carr, and Jameis Winston.
Is there a big difference between the 3 in your mind?
I'd say between Garoppolo and Winston for sure, and Derek Carr is in there somewhere.
Because those are the names that have been mentioned.
Yeah, I know, and but I think that Garoppolo would be a safer bet.
Right.
I know the 49ers invested in Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, right?
He's going to be. They're going to be looking at that.
Both Carr and Garoppolo in the last year of their deals.
Yeah, and Carr, I don't know. I think where the Raiders are, they may bring him back. But Garoppolo, because of the Lance thing, that may be interesting to keep an eye on. I think also the Saints are going to look at the draft,
right?
Really, really closely and see who knows if they like somebody.
ESPN has them taking Pickett at 18.
And he's got a couple of warts. But I mean, the thing is, if Sean Payton falls in love with a quarterback, he's going for him.
Right.
And Corral is another guy I think they like. And there's a couple of guys that they could get on day 2 or early in day 3, and you say, well, what? Man, this Zappy guy I like a lot in Western Kentucky. A lot.
Okay.
He's set the all-time record in touchdowns and broke everything. I like him a lot. He's going to be in the Senior Bowl.
I think most of the quarterbacks will be in the Senior Bowl, right?
Yeah, Malik Willis is going to be in there.
Yeah, they're all going to. This is one of those years where you're going to get a chance to really see these quarterbacks compete at the Senior Bowl.
I think it's going to be in there. Willis is going to be in there. Like a lot of people like Willis. Zappy's going to be in there. I want to take a look at Zappy, and he's done some great things. So I don't know if Sean Payton and staff would be interested in maybe grabbing somebody in the second round or the 3rd round. And that's still, I think you could pick a starter in the 2nd or 3rd round if it's the guy you want.
When you look at the quarterbacks coming out this year, compare and contrast them to Ian Book, who they already have on the roster.
I'd say right now, if they could get somebody right now that would keep him as a backup. I mean, if you're asking me, could Ian Book be a starting quarterback? I can't see it.
So you think Pickett, Corral better than Book coming in right away?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Willis?
Yes.
Okay. So as far as that goes, the other school of thought is, having to make a blockbuster deal for, again, a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers. That happens, you're giving up a lot of picks.
Or you're giving up a lot.
And this is at a time when you really need to upgrade that offense to go along with a championship defense. Your thoughts on possibly going in that direction?
You mortgaging a ranch for somebody and you giving up, you did that, you wouldn't be able to keep a Marcus Williams or because of the money involved and the trades and everything. That would impact you tremendously. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't keep a Michael Thomas, but I'm saying if you get Aaron Rodgers in here, you maybe have to give up Michael Thomas or Marcus Williams or somebody like that in the deal. Is it worth it? How many more years is he going to be playing?
Right.
Is the window closing?
Right.
That's a Sean Payton call.
Yes. Let's talk about Michael Thomas again. There is an out on the contract this year. When you look at Michael Thomas, the dead money is about $22.7 million. You can spread that over 2 years at about 11.5 a year or so. Again, when you look at his worth on the open market coming off that injury, and of course, look, NFL teams know that he's been a malcontent in that locker room. How does that help him in terms of, again, what he is worth on the open market to a team? They're going to try to lowball the Saints if ultimately they can make a deal for him. It almost feels like, again, the Saints have to bring him back this year just to rehab his reputation and then prove to teams that he is the same player on the field. What are your thoughts?
You hit the nail on the head. They wouldn't get offered more than a third-round pick in something else right now. I just think, any NFL team would lowball the Saints. Michael Thomas has to show he's for real. He had that big season after he signed the contract and nothing since then. He's got to show he's turned the corner and he's worth to the Saints what they're paying him or whoever's going to take him on in a trade. They'd have to give up something significant. But he's going to have to come back this year and catch, 80 balls, 90 balls, a lot.
Yeah.
He's going to have to, have a significant season over 1,000 yards.
Also, it's supposed to be a pretty deep draft when it comes to wide receivers. Now, some of those wide receivers have been injured, and again, they may fall in the draft. The two kids from Alabama come to mind. What are your thoughts about the draft when it comes to wide receivers?
Jameis Williams is one. The guy got hurt. Michie is another one. I'm drawing a blank. The guy Zappi of West Kentucky, his wide receiver with him that came from Incarnate Word. I can tell you everything. I can't think of his name.
Right.
He had like 1,600 yards. So, and the guy, I cannot think of his name, would probably be a third or fourth round pick. There are a lot of wide receivers.
So you think there's good depth there?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of depth. So you don't have to necessarily grab somebody in the first round.
Okay.
Jameis Wilson is from Alabama,
right?
And Michie and Olive from Ohio State is another one. Garrett Wilson is another one from Ohio State. Those guys are going to be first round picks.
Right.
But you can get second, third, third day picks that I think are going to be significant.
I've said this about P.J. Williams and Quan Alexander. Both are unrestricted free agents this year. That they may go somewhere where they may be able to get a little bit more money, but I don't think there's a better fit for those two players than right here in New Orleans. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Quan Alexander has really done a great job here at solidifying that position next to Mario Davis. P.J. Williams has earned his keep here. And I think those are two guys that the Saints have to do whatever they can within reason to bring them back. And I think they would be better fits here than they would, as you said, somewhere else.
Right.
And
Dennis Allen's done a great job in finding a niche for both guys.
Yeah, really, Dennis Allen. And I tell you, with all the jobs opening, the Saints better hope they can hold on to Dennis Allen because he's going to get talked to.
And the other guy is Jeff Ireland, who's again on the short list for the Chicago Bears right now, which I think, again, I've said over and over again, do what you have to do to be able to keep him, whether it's more money, whether it's a title, whatever it has to be, because you look at the trajectory of the New Orleans Saints from those 3-7-9 season when Ireland came here, and the drafts that again he's brought to the table. It's been a remarkable turnaround in terms of again the type of player that's been brought in, guys that have turned the team around.
Well, and the thing is with Jeff Ireland, Eric, we don't know. He may want to like that. He might like that title as general manager.
Right.
And he's been there before with the Dolphins. Mickey Loomis holds that title now. So Jeff Ireland may be seeking that authority, and that may be the driving force if he does take a job that he'll be calling shots.
A lot of talk about Sean Payton this week, moving on to Dallas, moving to TV. I don't believe any of it. He has complete autonomy here in New Orleans. He's the third highest paid head coach in the NFL, got a contract that's coming up. What are your thoughts on the future of Sean Payton here in New Orleans?
Well, the jobs that I hear that he may be tied to, he's got more control here than he would with the Dallas Cowboys, for sure. He's got more control here than he would on TV. I can tell you that.
Right.
He's going to have to answer to people. So I think he likes it here. He likes the feel of his team, the environment here, the franchise with Miss Benson and everything. I think that Sean feels like this is a great fit for him. It would have to be something, fall out of the sky.
Right.
Really, really fall out of the sky for him to make a change right now. I think he wants to right this ship and get it back where it once was with Drew Brees, and I think he feels like he's just a year or two away from that.
And I think he's got a little bit of prove it to me as well.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of people will say, again, you won with a Hall of Fame quarterback. Can you win again without him? Can you develop a quarterback? And I think all that is part of, again, the resume of Sean Payton at the end of the day. And look, you get a second Super Bowl win, you're a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. Okay, he's done a great job. He's got a great record. He's a Hall of Fame. He's got a Super Bowl win, but you get another one, you're probably a shoo-in. And look, you got a championship defense. I don't know if you walk away from that right now. And they're not that far away from on offense. Again, you look at backfilling the offensive line and getting some weapons at the wide receiver and tight end position. Again, probably another running back, right? Another young running back. And, you're right back where you started from. Now, again, the big one is the quarterback position. Who's going to quarterback? But for the most part, you got most of the pieces intact right now in New Orleans.
And and you look at what Sean Payton has done. Pierre Thomas is one guy,
right.
Saints Hall of Fame, undrafted free agent. What he's done with undrafted free agents, he's done a great job.
Oh, yeah, look at the defensive line this year.
Yes, and Shai Tuttle, a guy undrafted. So yeah, he's done an outstanding job. Marcus Davenport is hitting stride right now, and Cam Jordan. Nobody's playing better in the NFL. So he knows he just needs a couple of pieces.
That's it.
And he's right back in the mix again, and he can solve that quarterback situation and maybe make a move or two, wide receiver and offensive line, and he's right there.
Rene, they were right there at 9-8 this year with, again, all the turmoil they had. So, again, who's to think that, again, next year, if they get that quarterback situation solidified, get the weapons on offense, they won't be right back. All right, speaking of right back, we'll be right back. We'll hear from our underwriters. We come back, we're going to talk college. We'll talk LSU Tulane. We'll talk basketball and football. Then we'll get into basketball on UNO, also Tulane, LSU, and Loyola. We'll get into all that, and, of course, some Pelicans talk as well. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. Rene Nadeau of CrescentCitySports.com is our guest. We'll be right back.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Rene Nadeau of CrescentCitySports.com is our guest. Rene, transfer portal, opt-outs, defections, NFL draft opt-outs, graduation, academic casualties. Brian Kelly's got his work cut out for him. The cupboard's not bare, but it's a much more barer than we thought it was going to be for the LSU Tigers. And all of a sudden, within a short period of time, between the early signing period and the transfer portal, it looks like he's backfilled his roster.
No one in the country has done the job that Brian Kelly has done. Everybody at LSU was telling me, man, the sky's falling and stuff. I said, just give this guy time.
Right.
He's coming in late. He hadn't put his staff together. Got Den Brock, now he's got House as a defense coordinator. But he has signed he has filled those holes better than any football team in the country. I mean, he filled with Miles Frazier, the offensive tackle from Florida International, Tremond Shorts from East Tennessee State. Those two guys could be bookend tackles for this team. And you got Cam Wire also coming back, could be a fill-in guy. The only thing he really needs, and Marlon Martinez may fit that role as a center. And Liam Shanahan did a great job, the last 2 years. And Martinez may fill a role. Now, Charles Turner is a guy they can look at. But if Martinez can fill a role, who's been a fireman along the offensive line, that's going to be huge. I think with Dellinger coming back, he's got some experience. If they can tap into Anthony Bradford's potential, I mean, 6'5", 265, if they can find a spot and a role for him and plug him in and let him play, he can be extra special. He could have an NFL career. You got, for once, I think this offensive line looks good. Micah Baskerville and Ali Gay coming back. Eric, that's huge. Huge. You know, not only Micah Baskerville could be another Damon Clark. I mean, he could put up those kind of numbers. And you say, well, man, that's okay. Who thought Damon Clark last year could have the year he had and be, a finalist for the Butkus and everything else, and he's parlaying that into an NFL career. Micah Baskerville saw that, and I think he thinks that I can parlay what I've done so far and come back and maybe 100 plus tackles. Ali Gay coming back. He got hurt last year, played 4 games. That's going to be huge. Miles Brennan, I think that is huge for him coming back. And you say, well, he hasn't done much. He's been hurt. Well, he was looking really good before he got hurt a year ago.
When he's been on the field, he's been outstanding.
When he's been on the field, he's been great. And I think he sees that LSU is a good fit for him. Having Jeray Jenkins come back, I just think that the guys they've signed, they've brought back with them. Greg Brooks, a defensive secondary guy from Arkansas. Joe Fouché, 2 guys locally. Fouché from McDonough 35 and Brooks from West Jefferson. Wes Weeks is the guy from Virginia. He's a guy who'll fill a role. Okay, but he addressed some spots and he's not finished. He just did a great job. I think if he'll use another transfer portal spot for, I think, another secondary guy. Okay. And maybe not all of these, but he's going to look at secondary. He's going to look at a quarterback. He's going to look at a tight end and probably a running back. And I say that because, first of all, with the quarterback situation, Eric, there's no guarantees. If Miles Brennan is a surefire lock to be a starter, Garrett Nussmeier may bolt after spring practice. You don't know that, the way things are now. He could go. And if you'd be going into the fall with Miles Brennan and Walker Howard, who's had you need 4 guys. Now, can you bring in a top flight quarterback? Guy with experience, and I don't have a name to throw at you, but a guy who had some experience who, if need be, a guy could step in. He wouldn't be a guy who would have, could take control a little bit. John Emery is a running back right now. You don't know what's going to happen at LSU. Is he coming back? You don't know. But you want as many good running backs. You need 5. You need a tight end because Jack Best was playing out of position last year. Brian Kelly loves tight ends. Look what he did at Notre Dame. No doubt. Defensive secondary is not really there yet. But I think there's some areas you still need to address. And I tell you, the transfer portal has been gold to LSU, especially in a year they're coming back when they had 39 scholarship players playing in a bowl game. But they still have some spots in signing day. I think, Jacoby Matthews, they're gonna go after. Trevante Citizen, I think it's 50-50 with him. There's a guy, who am I thinking of? Danny Lewis, out of Westgate, the tight end, 6'6", 240, was committed to Cincinnati, and Denbrock went after him and liked him a lot. He backed off the Cincinnati offer, and now I think he's pretty sure to go to LSU. A tight end that would be in his 2022 class.
My biggest question has been, and I've asked this to, again, the correspondents who have come on my radio show and this show, when you look at the transfer portal, the players that Kelly has brought in, are they SEC starting caliber? Are they guys that are going to be backups for the most part?
you know, and I say that is they bringing them in with the idea that they are going to compete for starting roles.
Okay.
And that's not totally answering your question.
No, but that's what Kelly told everybody when he walked in. Huh? There are no starting positions. Everybody's got to fight for position now.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. I'll answer it this way. You're bringing in Brooks and Fouché, who both played a lot for Arkansas,
right,
and they were already there.
Right.
Kyron Lacey played. He's a 6'3", 215-pound wide receiver for UL.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to play at LSU.
Okay.
You say, well, he's going to play at LSU.
What about the secondary guys that came over from UL?
Mekhi Garner, Mekhi Garner. Okay, he's a guy I think will be a role player. Okay, will he compete? He's a big guy, 6'2", about 200 pounds.
Right.
He's a big physical cornerback.
Right.
Certainly ULL played a competitive schedule that he's faced some good competition. And Mekhi Garner, yes, can fit in. And will he be an SEC type cornerback? Yes.
Okay.
Because LSU had Darren Evans last year
from
Nichols. And he represented himself better in 2021 than
the year before.
Yes.
I thought the speed of the game got to him in his first year, but I thought he adjusted in his second year.
But Mekhi Garner from UL is going to be a little more adjusted, and he can play that. But I think they're getting good locker room guys, and that's really, really important.
Right.
He wants to get the guys in the right fit, and I think the coaching staff he's putting together, Eric, I think he's doing a great job. Matt House, coming from Kansas City Chiefs, hasn't gotten on campus yet, but Den Brock is going to have. Look what he did at Cincinnati.
Right.
I mean, I really think he can do a great job. And
what type of offense do you think they're going to run?
When I say wide open, you know, they can go to a 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends sometimes, but they're going to go to multiple wide receivers.
Let's talk. The standard has been now what Joe Brady did when he came from New Orleans over to LSU. Will it be that wide open an offense, or will it be a combination of what we've seen in the past, with again using the run and the pass? Look, a lot of kids want to play in a more wide open offense now.
You know, I'm going to tell you this, Eric, and I've had this question. We probably talked about this on the radio show. So much of what LSU did in 2019, Joe Brady takes credit for.
I know.
And it was Joe Burrow. It was Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, and also, again, Coach E.
Yes, yeah. Joe Burrow had a lot to do. He made, no disrespect to Joe Brady, but he made a lot of people look a lot better than they were. He took a lot on. He made great decisions. But will they go back to that?
Just more of the, and I'm talking about, again, the scheme more than anything else.
I think there'll be times, if this answers your question, there'll be times where you see 4 wide receivers on the field.
Right.
There'll be times that you take the running back and put him in the slot. So Corey Kiner or Emery or Noah Kane, who came from Penn State, they're gonna absolutely make sure that these guys are good receivers. Because if you're a running back for LSU, you're going to have a good pair of hands because they're going to use you as a receiver.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see again how that plays out. Let's go to Tulane now, and of course they had a pretty good signing class, but also again once again Willie Fritz in the transfer portal as well.
Lawrence Keys, McDonough 35 guy. Again, Tulane went back to local guys.
Yeah.
4.3 speed. Patrick Jenkins, it was a big get, and he's going to be a defensive tackle. Played at John Ehret, was at TCU. Ashad Clayton, he's going to join Cam Carroll and Tyjae Spears, and that's going to be. And I think Ashad Clayton, who played at Warren Easton, played at Colorado, I think he's going to fit really well. He's a physical guy, about 210 pounds, can run between the tackles. They did a great job. You got the linebackers coming at Nick Anderson and Dorian Williams. You got a good defensive set, and you got a new offensive coordinator, Jim Svoboda.
Right.
And I think he's really gonna jumpstart this offense. He's the 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years.
Yes.
I understand that, but bringing Michael Pratt back, and I got to tell you, I had with this transfer portal. I don't know Michael Pratt.
Right.
But I had to think that people were knocking on his door.
I'm sure they were.
Or saying that, I tell you could do a little better than 2-10. And bringing him back had to be the biggest recruiting sell that Willie Fritz can do.
Right.
I mean, because he makes this offense go, and if you lose Michael Pratt, you'd have lost an awful lot.
Yeah, you did. Of course, they lost Jeffrey Johnson. He goes to Oklahoma. That's a big loss on the defensive line. But again, they look like they've done a pretty good job with the transfer portal and also on the early signing period. National Signing Day for both. Pretty much Tulane's almost wrapped up. LSU has some guys out there they're still going after, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Jacoby Matthews, Javante Citizen, Danny Lewis. Harold Perkins is a guy who's got New Orleans ties. He's at Texas A&M right now, but there's a chance that they're trying to flip him. Okay. And, Texas A&M, he hasn't signed yet, and I think there's probably 80% chance he's going that way, but they're going to try to flip him. Caleb Douglas is a wide receiver that Cortez Hankton, who just became the wide receiver coach at LSU's got some relationship with.
Former St. Aug player?
Yes.
Right.
And Caleb Douglas is committed to USC, but he's taking a look-see at LSU. He's a big 6'3", 195-pound guy, wide receiver that would fit well in this offense. And I think Cortez Hankton is going to be a great get on this staff with Frank Wilson and some of the other recruiters and stuff like that. Brian Polian is going to be a great recruiter. He's a special teams guy. Brian Kelly assembled some great recruiters along with good coaching staff, and I think that's going to pay dividends.
A lot of people were concerned about that, especially losing Corey Raymond, Mickey Joseph. Again, what they did in terms of recruiting. But again, he looks like he's rebounded with some pretty good recruiters that, again, know the SEC and know Louisiana.
Yeah, and people say, well, Brian Kelly, he's not from, he's a football coach, and he's been successful everywhere he's been. Right. And when he's at Notre Dame, he's played against SEC schools, and again, if he has deficiencies, he gets people that fill those roles, that knows Frank Wilson. Getting Frank Wilson was a big get.
Huge.
And that's going to, again, Frank Wilson, there's not a better recruiter out there than Frank.
And let me say this, Rene, and I'd like to get your take on it. From a standpoint of organization, structure, Brian Kelly looks like he's the best coach that they've had at LSU since Nick Saban.
Oh, no doubt. And he didn't have to knock the whole foundation down. But there was some walls that were a little shaky there, and it needed some securing. And Brian Kelly was the perfect fit to take that spot. And people thought he was an afterthought. Brian Kelly was always in the wheelhouse of Scott Woodward as one of the guys who could take this team to the next level. And I think they made a great hire. If you'd asked me a year ago if he'd leave Notre Dame, I'd have said definitely not. Yeah, but I think he sees Brian Kelly. He looks at this as a great opportunity that maybe this will take LSU and him to the next level.
Well, again, look, they've been searching. I said this in the beginning. They need to forget about all the big names. They need to be able to get the next Nick Saban. Now I don't know if Kelly's the next Nick Saban, but again, he's probably as close to it as what you're going to get. We'll see what he can do on the field. Let's switch to basketball. LSU, 13th in the nation, 15-3. 3-3 now in the SEC. They lost last night to Alabama, 70-67. They struggled a little bit over the last couple games in the SEC. Very, very good defensive team. Offensively, and I've talked about it on the radio show, defensively, they creep their offense in a lot of cases. They got some guys that can knock the shot down, but if those guys are not healthy or not hitting, they struggle. That happened last night with Darius Days. Pinson didn't play against Alabama. Your thoughts on this LSU basketball team? And of course, Will Wade, once again, bringing in another great class, and now he's looks like again one of the top guards in all of college basketball and all of high school basketball committed to the Tigers as well. He continues to be able to reload at LSU.
Tara Eason from Cincinnati, Xavier Pinson from Missouri. LSU shooting, they're in the middle of the pack in the SEC, 75 points a game. But I'm going to tell you what people don't realize. He's stressed defense. They are the second rebounding team in the SEC. They're number one in steals. They play defense opportunistic. And losing Darius Days with the sprained ankle, we hope he's not out very long. But Efton Reed is that 7-foot center that I think he's only going to get better. He's had some flashes. But yeah, Will Wade has put a really good team together. And can I see them being a top seed, a high seed in March Madness? Yes, I can see that.
I can too as well. Now they got to get back on the winning track in the SEC. Okay, they blew through the non-conference schedule. They're having a little problems right now in the SEC. Hopefully they get through that. But I agree with you. When you talk about Tulane, 7-8 right now, 4-2 in the conference. This is Hunter's best team at Tulane thus far.
Yeah, and getting Jalen Cook over from LSU, he's averaging almost 20 points a game. They move the ball well. They look like they really fit together very, very well. And Ron Hunter has said this team is going to get a lot better. He's right. The guys, there's a lot of role players, Kevin Cross, Nobel Days. You got guys that are really, really playing their role, and he's playing a lot of people. But having Jalen Cook on that team is really, really lifted this team to the next level, and he's a great outside shooter. He's played a year twice in Louisiana. So Ron Hunter, and I think he's a really good coach.
Yes.
He's a really good coach.
Yes.
And you could just tell by watching the team, Eric, that this team buys into what he's selling. And I think that Tulane has a great chance of surprising some people as they move along. They've been in some close games.
Right.
A possession or two might have made a difference, but I think you can make a difference. I think once this team really feels confidence, I think you'll see a better product.
UNO is at 500 right now. They're 8-8, but they're 1-0 in the South. And a lot of people believe, again, they're going to win this Southland Conference, that they're one of the better teams in the Southland Conference. Your thoughts?
Well, you got Kirkland, a big guy in the middle, 6'10", and he's shooting 61% tops in the Southland Conference. Derek St. Hilaire averaging 19 points, Troy Green 14 points. You got two guys who are I won't call sharpshooters, but guys who can score points in bunches, St. Hilaire and Troy Green. And with Simeon Kirkland, he's a big guy that Coach Schlesinger has been looking for, and he's a guy that you got to respect, and he's scoring some points. They hustle, they play well. They third in the Southland Conference in field goal shooting and rebounds. So they play well, they hustle, they get the most out of when they're on the floor, and I think Mark Schlesinger has done an outstanding job.
That's a really good coach.
He really has, and he's got some players here that I think can certainly he can compete for the Southland Conference title, and who knows in March Madness what he could do.
Right, and of course, the big story this year has been Loyola. Number one in NAIA. They lose to Faulkner over the weekend. They're 16-1, 5-1 in their conference, but they have a very, very good basketball team.
Coach Stacy's done a great job over there, and Tim Wrightsell, a guy who's a leading scorer for the Wolfpack. They're number one in the country in NAIA, and I've done some Loyola basketball games back when Jerry Hernandez was the head coach, but they have done a great job. They've got a great mixture of talent, size, shooting ability, and again, Stacy's done a great job. And Loyola, going back to the years when they won, national title way back in the late 40s. But right now they are playing very, very well. They're an exciting team. If you haven't kept up with them, and you go watch them. I mean, really, it's an exciting product. They play very good basketball. They don't get as much attention as they deserve. But again, number one in the country, NAIA. That says everything.
It says everything. Kim Mulkey doing a great job with the LSU Tigers. They're packing the PMAC now in terms of her and women's basketball, and she's been obviously again a lightning rod when it comes to women's college basketball. What a find and what a get! And you can see it right now. This program has been turned around, and great things are ahead for the LSU women's basketball program.
Kim Mulkey, and who would have ever thought in a million years, Eric, that they'd get her there? She's done a great job. She's proven that she can win. She's got some transfers. Her name is going to attract some talent. She's putting some fannies in the seats. They haven't had that many people attending LSU women's basketball in quite some time. She's a coach that can get LSU knocking on the door to Final Four, if not this year, next year. And she's got the talent, and she coaches everybody up. So even though she's got great talent, and she's going to attract great talent, she will lift this team. And I tell you, she's unmatched as far as being as a coach.
And Lisa Stockton still continues to do a great job at Tulane.
Lisa Stockton has been there forever, and she's done a great job. Very consistent. She attracts a great brand of basketball and a winning basketball. And Lisa has been. She's one of the the top women basketball coaches in the country, and she's proven that she can do it year in and year out, and she'll continue to do a great job.
I did want to ask you before we move off of basketball. A couple weeks back, The floor at the PMAC was finally named for Dale Brown. Long time coming. Glad to see it while he was alive. Again, I'm not too happy about the little corner of the floor, okay, where you see again more when they name a floor after a coach, it's very prominent. Usually it's the back end line. Or again, if it's not going to be the back end line, then again the signatures across the court. It is what it is. But again, this is a long time coming. Just your thoughts on that. You've interviewed Dale Brown. You know Dale Brown. You've watched him during his time at LSU. Just your thoughts on Dale Brown.
You know, Dale Brown, and I'm sure 10,000 people can say what I'm saying, but he is such a great individual. He's done some things for me that I never thought, you know, he had the time to do. He's really been a good friend. He's a fighter. He's a battler. He's a man that's true of his word, and if he believes in a cause, he's going to fight for it. And Dale Brown is one in a million, and I'm glad that I've crossed paths with him. I've learned some things from Dale. I've got some great memories, some things that he's done for me. And again, this is long overdue. LSU recognizes what he's done not only for LSU, but for the SEC. And I tell you, people around the country know Dale Brown and know what he's done for basketball. And without Dale Brown, LSU basketball would not be what it was.
He resuscitated after Maravich moved on to the NBA.
Exactly, and I remember him hanging up basketball goals and stuff like that, and he did a whole lot. And he went out shaking hands, knocking on doors and things like that. And he is responsible for LSU basketball getting to the level it's gotten to.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, there's been some dips, but when you think about what he did in his 25 years as head coach of LSU, just amazing. And look, you know, I was growing up during that time, and you know, LSU basketball was must see. I mean, whenever they were on, you stopped what you were doing, it was must see. Didn't matter. He was a great recruiter, nationally, internationally, locally, and of course had some great teams. Had some teams that were underachieving, but had some teams that overachieved as well. That got to the Final Four. Just an amazing run for Dale Brown. I'm finally happy again that this happened. Again, I would like to have been a little bit more pronounced in terms of, again, you know, on the floor, but the fact that it's there and he got to see it, it means a lot to a lot of people who are big Dale Brown fans like myself.
Well, you know, when you think of Ethan Martin and Swat Mitchell and Rudy Macklin, I mean, you know, it's just
everybody thinks about Shaq and those games, those teams, but even before that, I mean,
it's just I go back in '72 and when he was there, and Dale Brown has always been the same, and he's a loyal person, and if I would tell you. And again, I wouldn't put myself in this close circle of really good friends, but if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And he's said he's going to do things for me, and he's done them. So
no doubt about it.
Can't say enough good things about that.
Pelicans are 16-28. They're 13th right now in the West. They're 2 games out of the 10th spot. As mentioned on this program last week, 7-5 in December. Their only winning month thus far. They are 12-12 over the last 24. 4-6 in the last 10. Again, struggled a little bit right now on this road trip, losing to Brooklyn and also the Boston Celtics. I thought that the Celtic game was kind of a microcosm of where the Pelicans are right now. They are really in need of another star on the floor, and especially in the backcourt that can score for them consistently. When Brandon Ingram is off or he's not shooting well, they tend to be able to bog down on the offensive end. They're playing great defense. They share the basketball as good as anybody in the NBA. Valanciunas has been a real find for them in terms of the center position. Herb Jones, obviously to me, is again a candidate for the Rookie of the Year. But again, they need another player. The question is, again, will they get that done before the trading deadline? And then who will be available? A lot of people thinking about C.J. McCollum out of Portland. If ultimately they shut it down because of Dame Lillard's surgery, that would be a nice addition. But then, of course, there is some subtraction there. Who do you get rid of? Your thoughts on the Pelicans?
Well, you know, and right now, you hit the nail on the head, too. Again, they're in the bottom third in scoring, averaging a little over 105 points a game. They're in the bottom third in field goal percentage. Brandon Ingram is hitting a little over 22 points a game. Valanciunas 18.5, but he's one of the leading rebounders.
Double machine.
Yeah, he's 12.5 rebounds per game. Josh Hart has been a great find, a great fit. Herb Jones, Devontae Graham has been good, but you do need that spark. And you know, I don't think the guys coming off the bench are giving you everything that you need. And you just need another player or so to kind of get them to the next level. 105 points a game is just not going to average an out. It's not going to get you there. And certainly a scoring guard, but what do you give up for him?
Well, that's the question. A lot of people are thinking, again, they'll have to give up some picks, which I have no problem with. You have those picks from the Drew Holiday trade and the Anthony Davis trade to be able to upgrade your roster. What I don't want to see, and again, a lot of people, again, feel different than I do. I don't want to see him include a Jackson Hayes or Nickeil Alexander-Walker in any trade, because I still feel like there's upside there. Some people feel that they haven't progressed as quickly as they need to. I just would hate to see giving up on kids that, Walker went to Virginia Tech for 2 years. Hayes was at Texas for 1 year. So again, those guys are still growing in terms of, their NBA game, and I would hate to give those guys up at this point in their careers. What are your thoughts?
Time is starting to run out on Jackson Hayes.
A lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, and I mean, he's had some flashes and he's had some good moments. Alexander's another situation. He's looked good and not so good at times. But, when you give up draft picks, that's not a big deal, because people say, you give up a first-round pick. Well, you never know if a first-round pick's going to really develop.
Right, and if it's going to be lottery protected or not.
Yeah, and so sometimes if you give it up, but I tell you what, David Griffin has to make some good moves this year.
Got to.
It's I don't know if the clock is.
Well, I think the clock is running.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. And he's got to make some good moves, because he's the third coach in 3 years. Willie Green looks like a great fit.
Sure does.
But again, some of these past trades and moves and things like that, and signings, David Griffin has to prove this year that this team can get to the next level, or you don't know. And
of course, the team is still waiting on Zion. The hope is that he's going to be back after the All-Star break, but again, you never know what's going to happen there. And then there's going to be a period where there's going to be an adjustment period. He is a ball-dominant player. A lot of the things we're seeing Valanciunas do right now will be things that Zion is doing. Where is that adjustment when he comes back? Look, he's a great player. He's a great offensive player. Defense obviously has to work on some things. He's got to expand his offensive game, but it immediately makes them better when he comes back, if he comes back. Question is, will he be back?
I really don't think he's going to be back. And the thing is, I still don't understand. I'm not privy to all the information, but I'm still not sure why he's training in Oregon.
Right.
I mean, he's on this team, and I just think that the more he's around the team, when he comes back, if he comes back, it'll be a less a problem as an adjustment for him. But he's training at a distance. You can't really keep up with him. He's trying to take care of his foot and make sure that heals. But I don't think he'll be a contributor to this team this year.
This season. You don't think he will?
No, I don't.
See, it'll be interesting. I don't really have the issue with him being in Portland, because I feel like, again, anytime you're dealing with, again, a specialization, and if the best guy in the country is in Portland, well, then he goes to Portland. It is what it is. But, again, I do think that for the Pelicans, it is also, the less he's here, the less of a distraction he is with the media, everything else kind of out of sight, out of mind. It'll be interesting to see, again, if he comes back, when he comes back, and then what type of player he'll be when he comes back.
Well, I think this whole process is taking way too long.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, I don't know.
I agree. It is. But, look, I said this the other day as we wrap up. The Pelicans hold all the cards here. He's a restricted free agent for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
They don't have to max him out, and they have the right of first refusal to be able to match any contract. So everybody's all worried about Zion leaving. The Pelicans hold all the cards with Zion Williamson under his first contract.
Yeah, and the thing is that, if he comes back and when he comes back, he's certainly a big part of this.
Oh, absolutely.
What it could do for this team.
Right.
But they have to move on and not expect him to be anytime soon, because, again, I don't think he'll play this year. So Willie Green is doing a great job in his absence.
There's no doubt. Rene, Nadeau, CrestCitySports.com. Thanks so much for being here.
Eric, thank you so much. It's always my pleasure.
Always great to have you. Thanks so much for tuning in. As I say each and every week, we are so blessed. So many ways to be able to catch our program now. The first rebroadcast is tonight at 6 o'clock on WLAE-TV, 10 o'clock on the Deuce, WLAE-TV 2. 9 o'clock tomorrow night, Friday night, Pelican Sports Television, 10 o'clock on WLAE. 2 a.m. on The Deuce every Saturday morning, every Saturday afternoon at 5 p.m. on Pelican Sports Television. Always at ericasher.com, always on the WLAE-TV YouTube page, always on our social media platforms, at Eric_Asher on Twitter, Eric Asher on Facebook, Inside New Orleans Show on Instagram. You can catch me on the radio, 106.1 FM, 4 to 6 weekdays. Listen live at ericasher.com. Our podcast on the Anchor Podcast, but we are on all podcasting platforms. iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, great way to take the show with you anywhere. And of course, you can check us out, you can check out Kenny Trahan and the guys right after me from thecrestcitysports.com and All Access from 6 to 7 on 106.1 FM. Special thanks to our underwriters who make this show possible. Please again to continue to support our underwriters. Also, want to thank the staff here at WLAE, Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Alex Chacon, Logan Graffia, and also my director, William Hill. For Rene Nadeau, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.